Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Williams. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Williams. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Williams, your host. Thank you so kindly for being a part of the show. We had a tad bit of technical difficulties, but you know what? We are back, and we are back. Anyhow, folks, the first thing I want to do before I start the show is to thank all our listeners so kindly for being a part of our fund drive that while it didn't get what we want, we know that you guys did what, well, you did well. Right, Lupita? How should we say it, Lupita?
I mean, I think, as we always say, we're grateful for what we do get. I think in terms of goals, maybe we didn't reach what we desired, but, we still got a good amount.
Absolutely. We love all our listeners. We know that, we know a lot of times, especially for us, los lefties, a lot of times, it's sort of a difficult time sometimes. But you know what, folks? We are here. We intend to stay here. We intend to do what's necessary. Before I get into the show, I have a few things. I've been pent up for 3 weeks for some of the things that I wanted to talk about. And here's something that I want to talk about. I don't know if you guys remember that the Langone gave away a whole few $1 million to educate medical students. Okay, that was great. I thought that was wonderful. But also, then after that, we had Smith, who gave quite a few $1 million to folks at Morehouse. So we had New York University by Langone. We had this guy from Smith, who gave a lot of money to these students. And everybody was happy. That is a great thing to do. And you know what? That was a great thing to do. I don't want to lose the thing that it was a great thing to have happened to those students. What I didn't like was the accolades going to the billionaires who gave the money. Because, it's not envy or anything of that sort. And by the way, that isn't the subject today, but this is something because I have been raked over the coals for saying this. And I want to make an analogy for all my listeners because I know most people want to say, oh, leave the billionaires alone. They are good people. There are some good ones and there are some bad ones. And the good ones decided to give their money to these people and it's all good, etc., etc. And then I wrote an article about it and I got slaughtered for saying the following. I said that there really aren't, billionaires are following all the rules. Billionaires are following all the rules legally as they should. But the reality is we should not have billionaires because there's nobody, absolutely nobody on this planet, based on the relative amount of money in this world, that is worth the $1 billion that they make. I am sorry. There isn't anyone that is worth that kind of money. And that said, I gave an analogy, and what I told folks is, let's assume that somebody came into your house. Somebody came into your home and they stole $100,000 out of your safe. Let's say you were just one of those people who had all that money, put away $100,000, put away in a safe, and that person came into your home and stole it. And then later on, you're going through hard times because all that money was stolen from you and you couldn't do the things that you wanted to do. And out of their benevolency, the person who stole that money said, oh, I'm going to help you pay your bills. Here's $1,000. What would you think? Would you say, oh, that guy was so good? Or no, to get the monies that he was able to get to help me out, he stole it from me. You see, we have learned in this country to look at the wealthy as the people who have wealth and means. And I'm not talking about the average person that have a couple million or 100,000 or several $100,000 in the bank or whatever. Those are not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking, a lot of these people work for the money that they've earned. However, I'm talking about those people who move around financial instruments, who make money. You know, I went out and did a project this weekend with a woman, okay? And this project involved one of her establishment closing down. And we got into the subject about Smith. And she said, oh, don't talk to me about Smith because, as it turns out, he did a good thing. Just accept that he did a good thing. Then I used the analogy in her community. I said, Smith gave a lot of money to these people in Morehouse. And I'm just using Smith as an example. This could go for any billionaire people. This could apply to absolutely any billionaire. He gives a lot of money to these students, right? But he also buys REITs, these different investment instruments that go into communities and buy out buildings and then increase the rents. He goes out to all these other neighborhoods and he gentrifies them. He goes into places and that's how he makes his money. It looks nice and it's antiseptic. He makes his money from, fixing things up, making them much more expensive, and those poor people that live there, they can't anymore. And that's just one example of these financial instruments used to make billionaires, okay? And that sort of a thing. Now, he then goes ahead and he takes some money off the riches that he's made from taking over property on the cheap, from taking over values on the cheap. He goes ahead then and says, okay, I made a lot of money in the stock market. I made a lot of money here. And now I'm going to give a few peanuts to other people. And everybody then, we are trained to believe, oh, such a nice thing. The rich man gave up his money. What I'm trying to do with Politics Done Right and the blogs that I write and so forth is to have Americans understand their own worth. That billionaires cannot be billionaires without you. And not only that, but what billionaires, we have an economic system that allows a few to look at your worth, your work, and say, I can make a penny off of your work. I can make a penny off of your worth. And I can do all these financial instruments and make money off of you and then tell you, well, I don't want to pay taxes to support the things that you need for your support. But then I charged you taxes in a way, in an antiseptic way, in the work that you do. I am trying to have us not look at millionaires and billionaires with dear eyes, with like we are seeing, oh, these stars, they're so great. My brothers and my sisters, I'm trying to tell all of us in this country, we all have our worth, and the gradations of our worth is not separated by billions. It is separated by what we want to do and how hard we want to work. But the delta, the differences aren't billions. I am so hard trying to put that out. But anyhow, my pet peeve is Medicare for all. So guess what? Today's subject again is going to be something about Medicare for all that has me a bit perturbed, if you will. And why does it have me perturbed? Because Democrats are falling in line with Republicans on this. And if we don't nip it in the butt, we are going to lose the election, and we're going to lose the election big, and we would have deserved to lose the election. And I know what the polls look, everything looks fine. Right now, as I've told many people, Donald Trump is on a good path, a glide path to re-election. And the only thing can stop that is for people to believe and know the truth. And that truth is the country is in dire straits. And not only is the country in dire straits, you don't see it on the network news because the network news is controlled by the mainstream media, or rather is by the corporatocracy. And the corporatocracy is not going to tell you what's going on election to election, because if you really understood what was going on, you would not allow it. But anyhow, the title of the program today is Any politician falsely attacking Medicare for all, Republican or Democrat, must pay a price. Subtitle of the show: I find it amazing how both Democrats and Republicans are coalescing to using the same talking points to attack Medicare for all. We must make sure that they all know that they will pay the price for hurting Americans with their stance. Medicare for all, the only answer. And here it goes. Republicans and some Democrats are starting to use talking points from the Partnership for America's Healthcare Future, PAHCF, against Medicare for all. It is a sad commentary, but it proves my track analogy. The left track and the right track move in unison, and they are both moving rightward. What we need is a derailment. But before I get to the program, I want to remind all of our listeners that KPFT is a bastion of intelligent voices and programs. As a political activist myself, my favorites are Think Wing Radio, and that is when again? When is Think Wing Radio again? Tell me.
It was Mike Honig on Mondays at 3 p.m.
Absolutely so. Then, of course, we have Open Journal with whom?
Dwayne Bradley and crew on Mondays at 6 p.m.
And, of course, we have Jazz Latino, Afro-Cuban Latin Jazz. And who is that again?
Juan Flores and myself, Lupita.
And Lupita, you hear that voice? It is Lupita. I love Juan Flores, but Lupita puts the voice in there.
Thank you.
Absolutamente so, Juan. I know you're listening. I still love you. I still love you, Juan. I still love you, Juan. Okay, and then of course we have Asian Radio, a weekly radio program featuring an eclectic mix of Asian, underground, Bhangra, Bollywood, funk, Hindi, high, Rai, where ancient sounds meet future beats. And when is that again?
That's Tuesdays after this show from 4 to 6 p.m.
And we have that thing keeps you jumping when I'm going home, folks. And anyhow, I'll end it there and just start and tell you. Check out our full schedule at kpft.org, where you can find programming from music to politics to medicine to the eclectic, because KPFT is a listener-supported public community radio station. So please remember that if you like what you hear, visit KPFT and ensure we remain a strong, viable community radio station. Not influenced by whom, Lupita? Not influenced by whom, Lupita?
The corporatocracy.
The corporatocracy. We have to get there. Let me tell you what I'm begging for, my brothers and my sisters. Let me tell you what I'm begging for. I'm begging for full understanding of our economic system. I'm begging for us to understand it, not having to listen to me or anybody else. I am begging for us to really be there. Because if we are there, they can't throw Biden, or they can't throw Trump, or they can't put fear into us as far as who the corporatocracy wants us to vote for, as opposed to those who are best suited for what we need, what we say we want, what we must have. That is the story, folks. But anyhow, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay, the weekly blog post is not a long one today. Actually, it's not a long one at all today. And I'm happy that I had so much to say, because as it turns out right now, I'm trying to pull up that blog post of the week, and it's going to be coming up in a second. But folks, where I want us to get to a point where we listen to the news just to kind of have an idea of what's going on, but that we really know how things are before we move. Anyhow, the title of the show is Our Gullibility to Plutocrats is Maiming and Killing Us. Medicare for All or More Die. And I mean that. We either get Medicare for all or we all die. And our corporatocracy is happy to put a price on every single person. They decide, if we get sued for not giving this service, that's a cost to doing business. Continuing. The story to me isn't an abstraction, or this story to me isn't an abstraction. My family has gone through several iterations in our fraudulent and immoral healthcare system. Unfortunately, Too many Americans are gullible to the disingenuous marketing techniques, grandstanding, lies, and the basal immorality of the tenet they use to enrich themselves. Medicare for all is the only solution, and it is just the start. Notice what I said. Medicare for all is the only solution. How it's implemented is a different story. But Medicare for all, meaning everybody by being on this land can walk into a hospital, can walk into a clinic, can walk into a doctor's office and be seen without having to pay immediately out of pocket because it is covered by our taxes. However we implement it, do it. But the totality and the possibility and our ability is there. The only thing that stops us is the threat of the plutocracy not wanting to give up the thievery that they are used to. I thought my emergency room story was a nightmare. The short of it is that I had a blood pressure spike of 240 over 140. EMS showed up at KPFT to take me to the hospital. I refused the ripoff of a $500 to $1,000 cost of a 1 mile ride, and I drove myself to the ER closer to my home. They coerced an MRI and gave me a couple of cheap pills and told me to see my primary care the next morning. For that, they charged me $5,000, which was out of pocket, Lupita.
You know, it's funny because even I've kind of seen a trend like on social media of people saying that they'd rather call an Uber than get an ambulance because it's just that expensive.
You think about what you just said there, Lupita. I mean, imagine that. That is sad.
It really is.
In the richest country in the world, Lupita, that is sad. And so think about that. That's the first time I'm hearing that. But think about that. That is your friends and all
like
these other
people my age are discussing it on Twitter and Facebook. Like, wow, I would rather call a Lyft or an Uber to get to the hospital than call an ambulance and have to avoid that crazy expensive bill.
You see why I fight? You see why we do what we do? When you have kids, when you have young adults having to think like that, shame. Shame on our system, shame on the plutocracy, shame. Continuing, they coerced an MRI and gave me a couple of cheap pills, and the bill was $5,000. For me, that was out of pocket because I had a $10,000 deductible then. When I impressed their operation that I would be writing about the experience, the bill was still excessive, but just around $2,500. In other words, they cut it in half. Read about it at my blog, egbertowillies.com. Just scan for it. We had another rip-off experience with my wife as well. She had a bout of pneumonia, and they socked it to us again. They just socked it to us. Several $1,000, $7,500, I think was the bill. And I wrote about that as well, and I blogged about it, and I even put the bill online because I didn't want any suits or anything, so I gave the evidence as far as the thievery that occurs in our medical system, the theft that occurs in our medical system. Texan Brittany Pearson's experience shows what an economic system based solely on extracting all it can from you, all that you can pay right up to bankruptcy does to us all. The Houston Chronicle tells her story in an article titled, "A Texas Woman's Fight with a Healthcare System She Says Let Her Down," that illustrates our healthcare pathology. And it goes as follows. This is quoting from the Houston Chronicle. She worried about insurance coverage, so before leaving, she checked the facility's website, which said accepted all insurance plans. What she did not realize, despite a state law to force insurance network transparency, is that accepting her insurance did not mean the facility as in network. The facility was, in fact, out of network, leaving her vulnerable to higher charges. When she arrived at the ER, the staff began running tests and worked to stabilize her. They quickly concluded she needed to be transferred to a hospital because her condition was so dire. Parsons spent 7 days at Texas Health Harris Methodist Hospital in Fort Worth, 3 in intensive care unit. She was diagnosed with sepsis, a potentially fatal complication from an unknown infection. The bill charged from that hospital, not the emergency care that she went to, not the first hospital that couldn't treat her, that couldn't save her. They charged her $56,000. Most of which her husband's Blue Cross and Blue Shield health maintenance organization plan paid, leaving them with a few $1,000s out of pocket costs. But then, months later, she get a 7-page bill from Excel ER that said she owed more than $36,000 for the roughly 6 hours she was there. In other words, the people that couldn't treat her, Lupita, the people, you go to those standalone emergency rooms that are out there on the streets?
Yes.
Okay, that's where she went.
Are those like the 24-hour medical clinics? Yeah, I've been to that maybe like 2 or 3 times before.
Right. There are 2 times of them. There's one called there's one that's an emergency room, and there's another one that is a primary care.
Oh, okay.
So she went to the emergency room one. Okay, but they couldn't solve her problem. She stayed there for 6 hours. $36,000.
So she stayed that long just for them to tell her they couldn't treat her?
And that they had to take her to the hospital.
Yeah, she was still charged for that.
Exactly. 6 hours, $36,000. Okay? So, but then months later, she got a 7-page bill from Excel ER that said she owed more than $36,000 for the roughly 6 hours she was there. Stunned, she called for an explanation and instead got an earful from a billing clerk who complained that Blue Cross Blue Shield had been unfair to them. This is what she said. "I'll tell you what's unfair." Parsons snapped. "That I got a bill for $36,000. You guys did nothing and you charged me $36,000. End quote from the article. Continuing, there is no doubt that the Medicare for all is the only answer. It is time to get the crooks out of our healthcare system. It is no doubt the only way to get the crooks out of our system is to get them out. No need for them because they're crooks. Anybody charging that, they're crooks. The above act is legal extortion and thuggery. I do not view a thuggish system or thugs in suits any different than the common criminal. I see them in worse light. Why? Why do I see them in even worse light? Because these guys can never rip off enough. The hurt they put on people supersedes their greed. How can they justify $36,000 for 6 hours? Because they can legally, however immorally, unethical, or evil. They know we are gullible when they when they tell us this is how things are. This economic system gives them pricing power, and they use it. From the thievery they use in exploiting diabetics' need for insulin to overpriced education to toll roads, they find new ways to take it all. But that is for another blog. Billionaire given gifts are but a smokescreen to take one's eye off the ball. There is no benevolent billionaire. At best, they are accessories to all the damage caused by the capital markets. So says the blog. Folks, telephone number 713-526-5738. And today we are taking calls. So please give us a call, 713-526-5738. Let's get busy. Let's talk about this system. I want questions and I want answers. I want us to talk in a manner that educate our fellow Houstonians, our fellow Texans, our fellow Americans. Because, folks, they're trying to hoodwink us into a false choice. The only person that can beat Donald Trump is good old Biden. That is crap. Folks, you are being hoodwinked. I've been going through my thread, watching older Democrats, so scared that Trump could get reelected, and they don't want Biden, but it's like, and Biden is a nice guy. I like Biden. I'm coming to your telephone call. I like Biden, but it's not his time now. It's time for a progressive agenda to start recovering what was stolen over the last 40 years, folks. I have to impress on you. It is imperative that I impress on you the thievery that has occurred over these decades. And the thing about it, it was done in such an antiseptic manner. It was done in such a manner that you think it's okay and that you think that's the way things are. I want to dispel that rumor. 713-526-5738. Folks, we have All lines available, -1. Let's go, Senor Scott. Come on in. Folks, we have a lot of lines open, 713-526-5738. I don't want to talk to myself. I have a whole lot more to say, but I want to engage. 713-526-5738. Come on in, Scott.
Thank you. Is there a growing grassroots movement for Medicare for all?
Yes.
You know, there is a contested primary in District 18.
Yes.
Will Medicare for all be an issue there? Now, Sheila Jackson Lee has co-sponsored H.R. 676 in the past.
Yes.
Okay. I've not made a choice in that race yet. I turned down some people who asked me to sign their nominating petitions. I said I wasn't decided. And, I consider signing a petition tantamount to support. They didn't agree with me, but that's the way I look at it. And let's see, does Al Green or Sylvia Garcia have a primary opponent coming up?
I don't know, Scott, but let me tell you where I am going to be aiming or trying to convince our fellow activists to do. I think it is time now. I mean, every time one of these issues come up, Medicare for all or anything that does good for people, that the plutocracy gets scared and say, oh, no, we can't do that. The fear goes into all Democrats, all not progressive, but Democrats into, we can't, we have to be partial in the way we do it. We have to be incremental. Incrementalism was Obamacare, and look at what it brought us, a $36,000 bill for this woman.
Well, I read a book called 52 Reasons to Vote for Hillary back in fall of 2016.
Yes, sir.
And I reviewed it, and I said, I thought she had a good agenda. But you know what reservation I have?
What was it, sir?
Too much on her plate.
Right.
Too much on the any Democrat's plate. So I don't. I'm afraid any reforms we do will have to be incremental. And right now, all we can do is have the House pass bills, and the Senate will not take them up.
You're right about that, Scott. Look,
So,
Scott,
we cannot keep bashing Democrats for not getting anything done unless we make them stronger in Congress.
And you're absolutely right. I'm glad that you said that we cannot keep bashing Democrats unless we make them stronger. And here's how we make them stronger. We make them stronger by, first of all, working hard to educate the masses, okay?
Okay.
We have to educate them. I'm coming to you, Jessica, right after this, and then Frank, then James. And please, folks, we still have lines open, 713-526-5738. I want to hear from all you guys. We want to talk. Here's the thing, Scott. We have to educate the population. My goal in life now with Politics Done Right and other blogging that I'm doing is to really try my utter best to humbly, and notice I'm saying humbly because we as progressives sometimes have a tendency to be a bit too I don't want to say pushy or condescending. I want to be to do it humbly and respectful, but I want to tell folks and explain to folks how things really work, because we purposefully don't tell people these things so that they will continue to vote in the favor of the plutocracy. My lines are full, very full now, Scott, so I want to open another line, and I want to thank you for always being here and calling the show. Okay, my brother?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Bye.
Okay, let's go to Jessica. Come on in, Jessica.
Yes. Well, it's mighty funny. A couple of years ago, I had a memo from HIC telling me that I was to refrain, talking about Trump and how that what he was doing, especially towards my students' families, because majority of the kids that I taught teaching still now are immigrant kids, no matter what race.
Right.
Because I'm on the South Side. But I told my kids, I was like, you know what? I'm not going to leave because I got a memo written up. That's not going to push me. This district is eventually going to have to come and succeed and bow down and know that what they're doing, the system is wrong, and they're going to have to take a stand. Well, of course, when we had a superintendent, a letter all of a sudden came out that we stand behind our kids and, our Latino population. But these are the same Latino people who tried to write me up to educate them, to let them know that you have a right to be here. Don't be afraid. I find that quite funny. If they are in leadership, what they need to do, stop trying to be so Anglo-Saxon. Teach their people, because I know Cesar Chavez is rolling around in their grave. Him and his wife.
Okay, I think I understand. At first,
No. Wait.
Yeah.
Teach their people that they need to understand the laws here, understand English, and don't let nobody ever try to tell you that you don't belong here because you don't speak that one particular language. 2 languages are better than one. Second, I find this quite funny that this leadership turns their back on their own people. They need to wake up and they need to stop. It's a self-destruction.
Jessica, first of all, I want to commend you on something. It is very important, especially from the last sentence you said, the leadership. And let me explain what I mean by this, okay? You just hit up Latinos, and I want to hit up Latinos and everybody else in this regard.
Everyone.
Let me explain what I'm saying. Because if you go into every single community, whether it's a white community, the black community, or the Latino community, what you're going to find is the leaders in those communities, let's say the Democratic leaders in those communities, are singing from the same tune.
Yes,
And what I mean by that is the following. I mean, if you go and ask them about Medicare for all right now, they're going to tell you, well, we want to go incremental. We don't quite support it that way as they're doing right now. You just spoke about you coming to the defense of immigrant children, and the people that attempted to kick you out. You said this. I'm just repeating what you said, and you tell me if I'm understanding you wrong. Was some of the Latino leadership? Is that correct?
Oh yes, because I took a stand.
Okay, let me finish now. Let me finish. First of all, don't let that be a reflection on the Latino community. Let that be a reflection on the Latino leadership.
Oh, the person.
Don't let that be a reflection on the black community. Let it be a reflection on the black leadership. In my activism, what I'm doing right now, I make sure to put blame where it belongs. And you see, we use these different cultural things to split folk up and create problems, and all the leaderships like that, because then they can get their piece of the pie. What we have to work towards is having people doing exactly what you are doing, bucking the system. And the reason why it is essential, because what the leadership does is they try to create a status quo. And that status quo puts you in your place. Okay? And here's the other deal. The Latino leadership that came against you, in effect, was simply a stooge. Because here's how it looks. How it looks in the media. Let me tell you how it looks in the media. How can this? By the way, I'm just curious. She is concerned about these kids when this Latina leadership isn't. Are you kidding me? And that is how the plutocracy works in dividing people, right? That is how it works. So what I'm saying, kudos to you. Make sure to keep your ire at the right people, the leadership, and continue doing what you're doing for those immigrant kids. Continue putting, letting those kids know that they belong. A country that was founded on an evil has no right to tell some of the people who were even here originally that they don't belong.
Okay. And just very, really quick, do you not know a lot of my kids, like right now, they did not know the mere fact that Trump, the Baja, the Cortez, corridor and everything, he wanted to build his hotel there.
Right.
A lot of people forget about that.
Yes.
This was more so of, a kid who wanted to build something there. He says, no, just like you said, I'm going to start some type of race war.
Right.
A lot of people miss that. And when I explain that to my kids, because you already know they're cracking down on teachers, educating our youth.
Right.
Because it starts with the youth. It doesn't matter the race.
Right.
Or what's going on.
Right.
And when they heard that, I was like, so how are you here in the office? I was like, electoral college. We were going all into that. Oh, you should have seen them little eyes.
Well, let me tell you something.
They were like, what?
Jessica, I got to go to the other call, but I want to tell you, I want to first commend you and tell you, you keep up your activism. You make sure and keep those kids with their spirits high and make sure that they do know that they belong. That's the one thing we have to do.
Yeah.
Folks, stick together, fight together. You have a great one, and thank you so kindly for calling.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. All right, folks, we continue to have open lines, 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. Come on in, James. Talk to me.
How are you doing, sir? I'm gonna go on a quick little tangent.
Yes, sir.
So I'm actually half Russian. I lived in Russia for about 10 years.
Yes, sir.
I have been extremely fortunate in the reality that I've gotten to see a good little bit of a world. And I really, something that is very unfortunate about our current state of society in the States is that the narratives that are pushed by not only the leadership but ideologues and in general propagandists really are extremely divisive to the communal reality that we're all human beings with basic same necessities and same things that we need in our lives. And so many people have absolutely exploited that fact and have exploited a system. But the reality is through that exploitation, they've also completely divided a communal basis that could have been created. I understand there's a great deal of unfortunate history within this nation. It is absurd, but I think the progress of our societal being has been incredibly halted and defiled by a great deal of basically power merchants that have no problem cutting throats and telling you what you want to hear whenever you want to hear it, and then doing absolutely what they would like to do whenever they actually get said power. And I feel very strongly that it's pushed the general populace from paying attention to what is actually going on and educating themselves about what the realities of our current status is, and keeping dialogue with everyone and creating dialogue and informing those, and not in a sense of like I'm a superior individual because I'm somewhat aware of this particular issue. So many other people are extremely well-rounded in other ways, but it's so much more about the fact that we should strive to a communal understanding that we're now in a connected era that has literally never before in our globe been a thing. Only within the past 120 years, the ability to communicate cross continents with such ease has been created. So it's still very, very new, but it's also somewhat sad to me that instead of this creating a global understanding of one another, we've basically used so many of these tools to either make money or to divide each other for power.
And you know what? Let me interrupt you right there, James, beforehand. Folks, we have open line 713-526-5738. Again, that number is 713-526-5738. I love a lot of what you're saying. I think one of the things that we have to do is to put not to pat ourselves on the back here at KPFT, but a lot of what we're doing is trying to really bring more people into the discussion. Because you're absolutely right. In other words, and what I love what you said is we're now in a global system where we can, we can see things. We can talk to Canadians. We can talk to Europeans. We can talk to Africans. We can talk to all these people around the world in real time, so that we don't have to. Let me give a good example of something here. Okay. In America, today's subject is Medicare for all. And folks, I want folks to call me on this, 713-526-5738. We're not in fund drive anymore. 713-526-5738. So you can call, no problem. Fill those lines up. Okay, here it is, James, and this is very important. Right now, we have politicians that are fooling our population about what having everybody insured would do to the system, and it just won't work, and people will be forever working for waiting for medical care, right?
Sir, let me
finish. No, you can come in after I'm done. After I'm done, you can come in. Yeah. What I did as an independent citizen is I said, okay, I can actually go directly to these people. So I made a list of 50 numbers that I randomly chose in Canada, randomly, and called, and they were amused at the corrupt system that we had for healthcare here, and they all loved their system, and those problems weren't there. I also did some of these calls in England. I also did some of these. I didn't do it in France because I don't speak French, but I did it. I don't remember in what other English-speaking country. Just some of these countries that have universal healthcare, and found out that all we had to do is have our reporters, our journalists, go to these countries, and whenever you hear the lies that folks talk about how bad a Medicare for all system would be, then and understand the concept of capitalism and how it affects healthcare. It doesn't apply to healthcare; it applies to other areas. But healthcare is not possible. You cannot have a market system in healthcare. These are things that are known, and these are things that we can show by example. We can actually show things that are working. The fact that we don't do that in as much as we have this global economy that you're talking about, a global communication system that we're talking about, that people can get truth immediately, is sad. I think you wanted to make a comment.
Yes, sir. Now, I fully agree that the universal healthcare concept can be achieved. It's just not going to be achieved with the people that we have right now, both Democrat and Republican, because I don't think they're the people to do it. I will share with you my experiences throughout. Like I said, I have been incredibly fortunate with the ability to have traveled a good little bit. And whenever I did live in Russia, they do technically have universal health care, as well as if you would like to purchase health insurance, and there were American clinics / British clinics there. I will tell you that the things that were quote-unquote free were exactly what you pay for. It wasn't essentially the best health care at all. I have also had a couple of instances of a little here or there, nothing super serious. There was one time that I was pretty sick in England. It was no different than, like, say, currently having to wait absurd amounts of time at an emergency room in this country. The difference is that the inefficiency of the system in general is real, and it's unfortunate, and that's how people are. But the difference is here, after you get done with a visit like that, you are quoted a good $30K if you don't have health insurance. And trust me, if a person doesn't afford health insurance, they are very unlikely to be capable of paying upwards of tens of thousands of dollars for a very basic medical visit, and that is the part that is ridiculous.
And let me add to that, because and I wanted to sort of kind of push back a little bit about you can't do it with Republicans, Democrats, or whatever. What I really want to tell folks, and beforehand, folks, I have calls available. MODU come after this call, 713-526-5738. I would love to get more people engaged. 713-526-5738. I think it is on us, the American population.
Yes, 100%.
It's on
100.
Us. So if so I don't accept as a discussion in general that those politicians are bad because we're the ones who put them there. What we have to do is I speak a lot about self-worth, about knowing that you can decide to choose the right politicians. There are more of us than there are in the plutocracy. There are a lot of these things that I'm trying to impart in us, but we have been so beaten down. People talk about.
We have to take back our communal awareness and our community period.
That's why I love
from the divisive realities that we have allowed to happen. And it's unfortunate, but it is on us to take it back.
And that's why I love what you said. Once you started talking about our communal responsibility, etc., we need to get you to start getting on these different channels and talking about that sort of thing. Because what happens is, I don't know if you've ever listened to my show before, but I
just recently found the radio station. I'm so happy that I have.
I'm so happy that you're here as well then, sir. But what I try to tell folks all the time, right, is I engage everybody. There's no Trumpist that I hate. There's no conservative or any one of these folks, because you know what? I understand most of the times when people act the way they act, they're mostly and most of the time scared or uneducated. Scared or uneducated. And when I say uneducated, I either mean miseducated or ill-educated.
Absolutely.
But that is
everybody has reached their conclusions based upon their realities that they've lived through.
Right.
And the unfortunate bit is that not everybody has been exposed to objective thought. And I'm a little bit more middle of the line than I would say progressive, because I really do try to practice objectivity within most everything. And in an idealistic scenario, I would totally call myself progressive. But the reality is that there are some traditionalists within the world, and I thoroughly respect the ability of those people to do whatever they would like to do, as long as it does not infringe upon the others.
That's
whatsoever,
the magic.
As I would say with anyone.
That is the magic that you just said there. In other words, people have the freedom to do as they please, as long as that freedom doesn't infringe on somebody else's freedom. And if we can just think that way in the policies that we put out there, things would work so much better, you know. Things would work so much better.
You're telling me, brother.
Thank you so kindly for calling.
Thank you.
James,
you have a lovely day, and
you
thank
have
you
a
for
wonderful
taking
day.
my call.
Absolutely. You take care now. Folks, 713-526-5738. After MOD, I have no calls. 713-526-5738. Call if you want to add to the discussion. Llámanos, por favor. Okay, come on in, MOD.
Hello.
Talk to me. You're on, MOD.
Woohoo.
Go ahead.
Okay. I got the name right. Her name's Tulsi Gabbard.
Yeah.
Okay. But before I say that, I'm thinking about how can we have a discussion and what would be a good exchange. I think I'm going to frame it into three types of Democrats, Roberto.
Okay.
I'm going to say the first Democrat, I'm going to ask which one are we, or you, or anybody. The first one would be the gentleman last week at a Malibu in California Democratic meeting. The gentleman stood up and said to Tulsi, you know, what keeps us from having the same debacle that happened in 2016, which was a crime.
Mm-hmm.
And I have to agree. From occurring again, there's no one from the party, and he put a very straightforward, to the point question. And before Tulsi could answer, the DNC of that town interrupted, and you should have heard the people in the meeting. They were all like, yeah, like they're getting ready to break out their torches and pickaxe. And this lady interrupted, and she basically hijacked the response from the senator, saying, well, it's really about ideas, and we need to come together and have ideas, and just totally removed the whole point of the question. Are you or anybody, I'm not pointing this at you, I'm saying, are we the guy who, speaks for me? I think probably most of the disgruntled Democrats out there, that something did happen in 2016 that was a crime. It's very serious. And the fact that Trump has all the reason to go after him and if he's not, that's another story. But then there's the Democrat that is going to do the same thing over again, I see, by this lady that interrupted. And then there's a third Democrat that concerns me, Berto. And there were like 19 of them or 18 that were elected last November. And they were actors. They were basically, they were self-proclaimed socialists. No, they're supposedly Democrats. And the only thing that comes out of their mouth are 2030, sustainable development. And I've been trying to sneak that or make that clear to you, that that's a new echelon of concern, because that's a technocratic level that no one's talking about, and that's another concern. So are we, the Democrats, that are disgruntled and lost because something happened that last election that was very clear wrong? Or are we the Democrats that
let me
explain.
At
the table and allow this
MOD,
to happen again?
I get your point.
The Democrats are going to basically say, let's have this utopia promise, of sustainable development, where it be a technocratic order, and we don't have to worry about politics anymore.
Okay.
Which ones are we?
No, my brother, none of the above. Okay.
Which one are you?
None of the above.
Which one do you support then?
None of the above. Here's the deal, and this is what I will not, you should not, none of us should be boxed in. I'm going to just give an absolute, and that absolute is we make a list. We lost the call. Omar, if you're back, call back. Omar, I want to talk to you. I think give us a call back, Omar. We'll take you up in a minute. Here's the deal.
I have time to rebuttal, right? Or respond, right? Go ahead.
Okay. I am none of them. You should be none of them. We should simply be electing politicians who support the tenets, the progressive tenets that most Americans say they want. I'm not going to get into the technocratic arguments or anything like that because I know.
Do you understand what that is, though?
Of course I do. And what I'm saying
you know the seriousness, the depth of how it's being done right now?
Let's back up, my dear brother. There's no seriousness there in this regard.
There's no seriousness?
No. I don't mean to be condescending. I'm sorry if that's what it sounds.
No, talk to me.
Yeah, what I mean when I said there's no seriousness is I mean that once we elect the people we want to elect, all right, all of that goes away.
Okay, so let me give you some information. They're called opportunity zones, and these technocrats, the Buffetts and the Fields and all these folks that are the new robber barons of our era, are going into these areas of cities, and they're called opportunity zones, where they'll stand up 5G and sustainable development, housing, and everything. And this is a new era.
Let me stop you. MOD, I'm at 51 and I want to get Mario. But let me tell you something, MOD, to make your day, okay? You and I and everybody else, when we elect people that don't support what you're talking about, that's the way you get it done. While we still have a democracy.
Do you back those 19 socialists that were elected last November?
Hold on a second, my dear brother. Hold on a second. We elect people who are going to support the policies we want. I'm not going to get into, do I support XYZ? I'm going to tell XYZ what we will support them doing. We will, not I.
Tell you what XYZ is doing. Okay. They are actors, Roberto, and we had a good conversation about that.
We'll talk about it next time. I promise you. I promise you, MOD. You have you will talk to you again, brother. I'll talk to you again. I'll talk to you again. Thank you so kindly, MOD. You keep calling because we want to finish this conversation. Okay, brother. All right, let's go to Mario. Come on in, Mario.
Hey, how you doing?
I am doing fine, sir.
I just had a question. I don't know if you heard. Well, I saw it on the news that they said. Well, because I listened to you when you were talking about medication, how high everything is.
Yes, sir.
In this country.
Yes.
So I heard that Donald Trump is actually trying to allow U.S. citizens to buy cheaper medicine from Canada, but it's getting blocked, by people that don't like him. So, what do you think about that? Is that a good thing that he's trying to do?
First of all, that is
or is that a bad thing?
No. That's, put it this way. You know what Donald Trump is doing? Donald Trump, and I wrote about this several years ago. First of all, getting us to buy cheap drugs from other countries is a great thing. And if Donald Trump is doing that, I am backing Donald Trump. But I don't think that's quite what he's doing. But let's say he's doing that, I would be backing him on that. But let me tell you something, my brother. All right? I don't want us to be hoodwinked. All right? We can look at policy after policy that Donald Trump is passing right now. And the policy after policy is passing money directly up to the robber barons. It's not giving the money to the middle class. Now, when he comes out and he says something like, I am going to allow us to buy drugs from Canada. You know why he's saying that? Because he knows there are Republicans and Democrats who won't allow that to happen. And you know why they won't allow that to happen? Because they're owned by the drug companies. Okay? So here's the deal. My gut feeling tells me that you're a Trump supporter. Is that correct?
Well, yeah, I voted for Trump.
Yeah, and that's what I figured. So, I want to talk to you. And let me tell you why I want to talk to you. I want to talk to you because I don't want to hoodwink you. I don't want to look at you and tell you, hey, Trump is a bad guy or whatever. I want you to come to all the conclusions about every individual politicians based on what they've done for you, based on what they've done for your family, based on what they've done for everybody that you work with. I don't want to tell you Trump is a bad guy. I want you.
Well, you know what? I'm gonna tell you something. I'm glad that you're saying that because that's all I hear. When you turn on the news, that's all I hear. It's like, there's nothing positive. So it's like, I think the other side is hurting themselves by doing that because, somebody that's, level-headed is going to say, well, he's at least trying to do this. He's at least talking about it. He's saying something like, like with the prison reform. He's at least talking about it.
And you know something? I love that you said that, brother. Let me tell you why I love that you said that, right? Because here's the deal. I am not a Trumpist at all. I don't think there's anything good about Trump as a person. I don't think so.
Right.
But I don't. Right. But here's the thing, though. Here's the thing. If Trump is going to use his notoriety to do criminal justice to get the black vote, and or the Latino vote, or if Trump is going to use the trade war to hit the plutocrat to really start making product in the United States, those are things that progressives have been talking about all along. I've been writing saying, hey guys, Trump is going to triangulate you. Trump does not intend to do any of those things, my brother. I just need. But you know what? If he puts out that policy, I'm not going to go against it. I'm going to say, okay, let's see you perform. And when he doesn't perform, I'm going to come to you, Mario, and I'm going to say, oye, Mario, you see what I'm telling you about?
Well, the thing about what I see is like if he doesn't intend to do it, if I don't intend to do something, then why would I even talk about it? I would like.
You know why?
Hey, I would go the other way.
No. Let me tell you why. There's a reason why. And it's a perfect political move. Okay, it's the perfect political move, and it goes as follows. And I'm going to have to leave in about 45 seconds or so. It's a perfect political move. And what goes, Mario, is this: if I know what I'm talking about isn't going to pass, but it can get me votes, because if I can get the black vote by saying something, even if it doesn't get passed, if I can get the Latino vote by.
Right. That's what the Democratic Party's been doing this whole time.
I am not, brother. Hey, you and I.
They've been saying stuff to
brother. Listen to me, brother. Why do you think you have a KPFT and a progressive group now that is fighting against all those other people? Why do you think we are here? I'm saying you belong on my train. That's the train you belong on. You keep listening, and I gotta go now. But you keep listening because I'm gonna win you over based on what you're saying, brother. I am gonna win you over.
Okay, well, let's just keep it level-headed.
You got it.
I think we come to our understanding.
All right, my brother.
Anyway, thank you.
You have a good one. Folks, we have about 20-something seconds left. My name is Egberto Willies. I want you guys to continue listening to the show. We have a lot more to talk about. But you know what? We are going to have to open ourselves up to everybody. We're going to have to talk to... You see Mario who just called? I want Mario to call again. Because what Mario is going to realize is that we have more in common and where he really belongs. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. And guess how I close this baby? I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.